Hello everyone, welcome to the US Immigration Hub. Welcome back to the channel. Let's get straight into today's update. A surge of breaking developments is unfolding tonight in Washington, marking one of the most consequential shifts in United States immigration oversight in years. The USA Immigration Hub newsroom begins with a major announcement from the federal government and a sweeping directive from President Donald Trump that has already triggered nationwide debate, deep political reaction, and international attention. It touches millions of families, thousands of lawful residents, and the future of security policy in the United States. Subscribe, like, and share to stay updated as this story continues to evolve. Because what is happening now will shape the next phase of United States immigration enforcement in a way not seen in decades. The federal government has initiated an unprecedented full-scale re-examination of permanent residents from what the administration calls countries of concern. This decision was confirmed by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Director Joseph Edlow, who announced Thursday afternoon that he has ordered an immediate and sweeping review of every green card issued to individuals originating from these designated nations. According to Edlow, this directive comes straight from the president and represents a significant tightening of national security protocols. Edlow stated that protecting the country remains the administration's top priority and emphasized that the American public, in his words, will not be asked to bear the consequences of what he described as the prior administration's misguided and reckless resettlement policies. His message signals a major policy shift in how the U.S. will evaluate past immigration approvals, with a clear focus on identifying and reassessing individuals whose backgrounds originate from regions flagged for heightened security concern. As of this hour, USCIS has not released an official list defining which countries fall under that category. The absence of those details has only intensified public attention. The announcement alone, however, has already sparked renewed national debate about the balance between national security and America's long-standing immigration framework. This policy shift arrives less than 24 hours after a violent incident that occurred just steps from the White House, an attack that left 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard in critical condition. The suspect, now in federal custody, is an Afghan national who had once assisted U.S. forces overseas and was later resettled in the country under Operation Allies Welcome during the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. Federal prosecutors say they are conducting a thorough review of his immigration history and the vetting process that cleared him for entry into the United States. Janine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, confirmed that the suspect's immigration file and vetting timeline are now under active investigation. According to 2 law enforcement sources familiar with the case, the individual had been granted asylum earlier this year. That detail, now public, is raising urgent questions about the screening methods used over the past several years for categories of applicants connected to conflict zones, intelligence partnerships, and emergency resettlement programs. The victims, identified as 20-year-old Sarah Beckham and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, both members of the West Virginia National Guard, remain in critical condition. These service members were deployed to Washington as part of the administration's security efforts involving federal troop movements into several major cities. Their condition has drawn widespread support across the nation and prompted messages of solidarity from multiple state leadership offices. The White House released a video statement from President Trump in which he described the incident as an act of terror. The president vowed that additional National Guard units would be deployed to Washington to reinforce federal response operations and ensure absolute security around key government sites. His message was clear, direct, and firm, signaling an intensified approach to domestic security in parallel with tightened immigration policies. Alongside the immigration review, the administration announced that all pending immigration requests connected to Afghan nationals are being halted indefinitely. This unexpected freeze affects humanitarian claims, visa reviews, family reunification requests, and adjustment of status filings. For thousands of applicants, this announcement introduces immediate uncertainty, and for many families awaiting outcomes, the timeline is now undefined. The connection between the White House attack, the suspect's immigration background, and the administration's sudden, sweeping re-examination of green card holders has drawn sharp attention in the political arena. Supporters of the directive argue that the federal government must respond decisively and that any gaps in prior vetting processes deserve a full, uncompromising review. They say this moment demands strong oversight to prevent future risks and ensure the safety of federal personnel, military units, and U.S. citizens nationwide. Critics, however, are urging caution. Immigration advocates and, some members of Congress warned that sweeping reviews may cause unintended harm to individuals who have followed every legal requirement, lived peacefully in the country for years, and built stable lives in the United States. They argue that broad re-examinations should not create fear among long-term green card holders whose records contain no indication of wrongdoing. As federal agencies continue reviewing the suspect's history, the policy implications keep widening. The geopolitical aspect of this story is also drawing international attention, especially from countries with large refugee populations or long-standing partnerships with the United States. Diplomatic officials from several allied nations are seeking clarity regarding how this policy shift might impact their citizens residing legally in the United States. Inside the United States, legal experts are tracking potential implications for immigration courts, which already face heavy caseloads. A sweeping review of green cards may require thousands of case audits, background assessments, and legal evaluations, potentially reshaping the workload of adjudication offices for years to come. Attorneys representing lawful permanent residents say they are preparing for a surge of inquiries from clients seeking to understand whether their status might be affected by these new directives. At the same time, national security analysts are evaluating how the administration intends to define the countries of concern. Over the past 2 decades, various administrations have used different criteria ranging from terrorism risk to diplomatic tensions to regional instability to categorize nations for enhanced screening. Without an official list, analysts say the scope of this review remains open-ended and could be expanded depending on global developments. For millions of immigrants and their families, the announcement has created a moment of cautious attention. Many green card holders work in critical American sectors, including healthcare, transportation, public service, and small business operations. Their contributions remain a foundational part of communities across the United States, and many now await further clarification on how the new review process will be conducted and what new requirements may emerge. Tonight, as the story continues to evolve, the central question for the nation is how this sweeping review will affect the immigration landscape moving forward. Will the federal government focus strictly on security checks, or will broader policy adjustments follow? Will the list of countries remain limited, or will it expand as national security agencies complete their assessments? These questions remain unanswered, and officials are expected to release more details in the coming days. For now, the United States is entering a new phase of immigration scrutiny, driven by a combination of national security concerns, political response, and shifting federal priorities. The review of green cards from countries of concern marks one of the most significant moves in the administration's approach to legal immigration oversight, and, its effects will likely be felt across multiple sectors of American life. As more information becomes available, the USA Immigration Hub will continue providing accurate developments, verified updates, and comprehensive coverage of this major national story. Subscribe, like, and share to stay fully informed because, honestly, the next updates could redefine how immigration policy operates and how national security agencies enforce federal law across the country.